up, everybody? I'm Chrissy, and I'm here with Paula. We're talking about how to tackle life. So, Paula.
Yes.
You work on our sales team. Your job is to go out into the marketplace and figure out how to get people to do business with you. So, where does attention come into play with that, and how do you use that to your advantage?
Well, for myself, I just like to have everybody know that I am myself. I don't like to portray anybody else other than me. I feel like it gets me more feedback.
Yeah.
90% of the time it's good feedback, but there is that little bit of bad feedback, and when that does happen, I kind of just give them myself. Like, bad feedback for myself is turning it into a joke, or when they get angry, I try to be angry and laugh at the same time, so then it kind of breaks their wall down.
Okay.
And they may not do business with me right then, but normally they usually come back to want to do business with me because I left that lasting impression on them where I didn't make them feel like a
jerk?
Yeah.
Because they're being a jerk.
But I mean, like, I do in a sense feel like that when I get off of the phone, like, oh, I know that he's going to remember this. But sometimes it's one of those things where he's going to come back to me.
Okay, so when you are talking to your clients and something does go sour. So let's say, let's say you mess up what you're trying to say. You get all tongue-tied and like, how do you turn that into them appreciating and giving you attention for what you just did in a good way?
So that is something that I'm very good at.
I agree.
I'm very good. When I get in the moment, because I'm so passionate about what I do end up messing up because my brain or my words come out faster than my brain thinks.
Yeah.
And I just keep it going. And then once I stop and I chuckle, they'll laugh with me and they'll be like, did you just say? And I'm like, yeah, but you know what I meant. And then we just keep it going. And a lot of times when I do that, I end up getting a better result.
Yeah.
And it kind of like sucks them into, oh, I want to do a little bit more than what you were just telling me. Yeah. So I just keep it going.
What's the craziest thing that you can think of that has ever happened like that?
I've had a client tell me that I was smoking crack on a price of a vehicle that he wanted to purchase. Okay. And I told him that if this is the vehicle that you want, the price isn't going to make a difference. You're just going to buy it. Right. And he was like, no, you're smoking crack. I was like, well, you know what? You're smoking crack for not purchasing it when you asked for it. So whether or not the crack is involved, you're either going to get the vehicle or you're not. And that's where we're at.
Did he buy the vehicle?
He actually bought 30.
Love that. Okay. Yeah, it's a great. Don't smoke crack.
Don't do that. No. And no, we don't do that here.
But, yeah, that's, it usually works like that.
It does. And, you're working with men who are multi-million-dollar owners of businesses, and they have zero filters. They have to. They have to be this hard shell, and anything that comes out of their mouth a lot of times is realistically just them thinking to themselves. That's what they mean. That's what they feel about themselves, not necessarily you. And you just have to be able to break through that and be like, okay, well, you know what? If you can play that game, I can play it with you, not shun away from it.
Yes.
And when you actually play it with them, they enjoy it a little bit more because then they know that you have a personality, you're fun to mess around with, and you can, even though business is involved, you can still have a little fun.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you really focus on putting your personality into your job.
Yes.
And I think that anybody in business has to do that to some extent in order to get good attention. Because essentially, the reason we're talking about attention and not marketing specifically is because when you focus on marketing, you're going out to get the customers. You're having to put a lot of effort into it. So for some businesses that may be social media marketing, maybe it's, going out into the community and networking with people or whatever, but you're having to put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
I think the goal of getting attention is to put some effort into it, but get people coming back to you. and get them to do business with you instead. So how do you feel like you've done that over the years here at AAT?
I've just learned that I don't need to pretend to be anybody. I don't have to put on a front like this big professional that is serious and business all the time, because sometimes anybody that you work with, they need that moment to just break that wall of seriousness down for themselves. Mm-hmm. And if somebody comes in that they're not expecting to, and they have that vibe for them, it makes their day better, and it makes them want to continue to do business with you because you can do both and you know how to balance both. And if you can always handle business while throwing out some little jokes or kind of making them feel better, then you're always gonna have them coming back to you, and they're always gonna remember you with a lasting, oh, well, I know that I can have a good conversation with this person. Let me just call them real quick. They can get me what I want or what I need.
So I feel like essentially at the end of the day, the goal is to make the person comfortable.
For sure.
And then get them to like you enough to come back to you. And to tell everybody that they know that you do good business.
Yes.
So I think that regardless of how you conduct yourself, I think regardless of how the conversation goes, you have to do your job well. Mm-hmm. Because when you do your job well, that's going to give you way more attention than anything else. I think that when you have the conversation, you're catching attention.
Yes.
When you do good business, you're keeping it.
Yeah.
So I think that in our business especially, we do have to go out into the marketplace a lot in the beginning. That's kind of how our business model is centered. We get on the phone, we go to email. We're just constantly trying to touch people. Once we catch their attention, you want them to keep coming back to you. And yes. I think that kind of applies to any other business too. Like,
I agree.
You know, Seth does photography, and I'm sure he has to put out like a bunch of social media ads and, you know, catch attention that way. But then once he goes into like do the actual pictures and gives them the final result, that's going to keep people coming back. The ad's no longer relevant. And, you know, it could be any business. Coca-Cola is a really good example. I don't think that I've seen a ad that says drink Coke in a really long time.
No.
It's just people who are doing it, and it makes you want to do it too.
Yes, because it looks so refreshing, even if you don't even like soda.
And then they got the little polar bears and stuff. Like, that grabs attention. And I remember the polar bears. I don't, but I know it's related to Coke. Right? Okay, so we hit on bad attention and how to turn that into good attention. The thing that popped into my head when we started talking about that was Morgan Wallen. So, like, in the beginning of his career, he got some really bad attention right off the rip.
Yeah.
And then turned that into, like, his career was kind of made off of that attention. Like, that is what caught everybody's attention. But then he turned that into, like, I have good music. Here it is.
Yeah.
Keep coming back to me. Which everyone did.
And it spoke for itself. So regardless of the bad that he did, they were like, oh, when's he going to drop another one?
Yeah. So, like, he caught attention by any means necessary. And he kept it by doing a good job. Are there any other examples that you can think of like, where attention comes into play to get the job done?
You know, sometimes it gets dry here, and you have to think outside the box to figure out how can I make this day not so boring? My email's dry, my phone's dry, what's going on, what's happening? And you have to take a minute and step back and just look at what you have that you know everybody wants or everybody needs. They're just in that moment doing whatever it is that they have going on that you have no clue about. And you just have to, whether it be an email or a phone call them with some pizzazz and just, hey, I know that you need such and such, and just come in there with this high altitude and let them know that whether or not they can't sell this today, they're going to need it in 2 weeks. So let's just go ahead and get it done, because by the time 2 weeks comes, it'll already be there. Yeah. And you won't even need to be begging when everybody else is, and then you're stuck scrounging.
Kind of sounds like what you were saying. I'm reading between the lines here, but it sounds like you had to in that example, catch your own attention.
Yes, you do.
To figure your own shit out.
For sure.
So, like, when you feel like things are stagnant, and I think that's a life lesson. I don't think that's just like a, sales team lesson.
No.
In life, I feel like sometimes we get, like, to a plateau and we just get into this routine and we're just mindlessly going through things. And I think that we have to catch our own attention and be like, hey, what are we doing here? What do we need to do to...
It's a moment of selling yourself, because you can sell yourself and be doing so good for such a while that you don't have to sell yourself again. But then when you're sitting there and you're like, what's going on? Why can't I put anything together? What do you need to do? In that moment, you need to realize that you have already sold yourself on this, but now you're on something else and you need to sell yourself on this new thing. And you need to figure out what that new thing is so that you can sell yourself, to get excited and get back into the groove of things.
Absolutely. I think sometimes you have to sell yourself on the idea of getting a new thing going, too.
Yeah.
Like you get comfortable, you get into a routine, and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and then...
You need to break it.
That's no longer fulfilling.
Yeah.
And you have to sell yourself on getting out of your comfort zone.
True.
I feel like when I have to do that, I have to catch my own attention. Like, I have to do something that's like, okay, bitch, get it together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I literally just said that to myself this morning.
I love that.
For sure.
Why?
Well, I don't know. May has been a whirlwind of a month for me. Okay. I just don't think that I have been sold on the entire month. It's been an exhausting month. I just can't seem to catch a break at home, and that's where it always starts. Like, I tell myself every day, I need to go to bed at this time. I'm tired. Next thing you know, it's 3 hours past when you said you needed to go to bed, and you're waking up exhausted, and that carries into your day because your brain is mentally gone because it hasn't been refreshed.
Right.
And so you don't do anything, and then you're like, well, damn.
May is such a busy month, I think, for anybody who has kids.
Yeah.
May is just, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like the school tries to pile every single dress up or activity day they can into 10 days. And then you have all of this, like, end of the year stuff and, any extracurriculars. You're wrapping up springtime stuff. So, that's a big one. Just getting through it and
Grant has been in my mind for the last, I would say 5-6 days of the whole go on vacation until you're sick of vacation. But my vacation would really just be dropping the kid off at school and going back to sleep. Like, literally, that is my vacation. If I could just have 2 days of complete silence and black rooms and ice cold, I think that I would be a whole new me.
Yeah.
But, I think that happens every May for myself.
Every May.
Every May.
Every single May. And that was kind of where I was going with that. Like, you have to be very self-aware, I guess.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like, your routines and what you expect of yourself. Because if you're trying, like, I know for me, May is super hectic. Like, I haven't been in town one weekend this month. We have stuff going on all during the week.
Yeah.
Like, I'm exhausted, and it's like that every year.
Yeah.
So I can't go into the month of May expecting to go, hard at work and, like, go crazy and do all of these other things when I know, like, my body is fixing to be exhausted for the next 30 days. So I think that part of, back to our attention seeking, I think part of that is knowing what you can give to the situation.
Yeah.
And then, not having expectations that are so far beyond what you can physically do.
True.
That you end up disappointed in yourself.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. So something else that I kind of wanted to hit on today, networking. I know that you have been really focused on that over the last couple of years, like putting yourself out there and getting in new crowds and new circles. How does that tie back to, getting attention and how that, makes you get to the next level or get something out of it that you need?
You have to put yourself in situations and around people who are doing what you want to be doing, or in life where you want to go, to kind of get your mindset of, okay, well, this is what they're doing. These are the little things that I need to change to get there for myself, for it to not be just a once in a while thing. You want it to be your life. You have to exert yourself into these crowds or these places that you don't even know what to expect of it. You just know that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
And as long as it's nothing bad, then you just, I don't know, you stuff yourself in there. You kind of you prowl like a cat into it. You're like, pounce. Let me get some of your information. Please tell me how you did this. I'm in the middle of a cycle change for myself where I'm no longer entertained by the place that I'm at, but I don't know where that next place is for me. I'm in that, I don't know, that little shift change, and I don't necessarily have somebody ahead of me to kind of see where it is, so I have to go searching for people that are in areas that I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, could I see myself there? And just kind of catch a feel for it. And a lot of times, it's not necessarily what I like, or it doesn't really make me feel good. And then I have to step back and find another circle. And I think that is a part of all life, no matter what cycle that you're in or what level that you're trying to get to or get away from. That's always going to be the thing.
So I've always heard money flows where attention goes. I think that when you are trying to get business, first off, you have to get attention.
Yes.
You have to be known. People are not going to pay you if they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
But like with your example just now, your attention has to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
For you to be able to get to a new level or a new place where you're trying to go. So I think that growth is kind of centered around you putting your own attention on something other than what's making you comfortable at the moment.
Yeah. And
then figure it out, like you said, is this where I want to go? And if not, let's put our attention over here.
Yeah.
I think that's what causes people to get stuck sometimes too. Like they are comfortable where they're at, but the idea of going to the next place is uncomfortable, even though that's where they want to go.
Yeah.
So they just keep their attention where they're at instead of trying to move forward and go somewhere else. I guess that is scary.
I think what's scary for me is being in the same spot, because that's where I get uncomfortable. The moving forward isn't uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
The staying there and in that spot where you're already so sick of it is what's the most uncomfortable.
So that brings me to my next question. When you're in that situation, you're trying to go somewhere new, your attention has to go somewhere else, but you have no idea what that looks like. How do you keep your mind from going in 7 million directions at once and just make a move?
I go back to my goals, really.
Okay.
A big goal, not little tiny goals. I have to go to, okay, what is my biggest goal that I wanted to accomplish this year? And how far away am I from that goal? And sometimes I steer away from it, which I think we all do in life when it gets so busy. But when I actually am like, okay, well, this is where I said that I wanted to go. Is that really what I want now? And if it is, then I get more excited about it, because I'm like, okay, well, now I have these steps that I can do. It's this close to where it's at, and I'm this far away. Now I have to give myself little checkpoints and breakdowns. But if it's not, I find something else that I'm like, okay, well, I only have this amount of time left to get to that goal. How am I going to get there? And then I get excited. But the jump is scary. It's also excited, but I'm a very spontaneous person. So I like that excitement with a little bit of scare. Yeah. The uncomfortable thing for me is just sitting in the same spot.
Sitting still.
Yeah.
I like that you said you go to the end, what you want the end result to be, and then work your way backwards. I think that is so important in the decision-making process when you're trying to figure out what to put your attention on.
Yeah.
Because there are so many options. There's so many things that we can do in this moment to move. Not necessarily move forward to where we're trying to go, but just to move. And I think that when you're stuck somewhere, it's really easy to just want to move
Mm-hmm.
but it's so hard to figure out where.
Yeah.
When you're not clear on what you want the end result to be.
Yeah.
And when you're not clear, you're just literally like jumping from one thing to the next, and they're like so random and wild.
And you don't complete them.
You don't complete anything. You just think about shit.
Yeah.
Like you end up with, I said this last night actually, decision fatigue. Like you end up with decision fatigue where you are so like, oh, I need to make this choice or make this choice, and there's so many options that you just like stop.
Yeah.
You don't
even make it.
And you stay stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that will drive you crazy. So I think that when you are clear on the goal, where you're trying to go, and then like which of these options that I have in front of me will get me closer to that goal, it becomes clear what you need to do next.
I think that the reason that I go that way, I go to the end goal first, is because you never fully know what the path is to get there. You know, it could be a good path, it could be a bad path, it could be a path that is so overwhelming with obstacles that you can't fully prepare yourself for them until you get there.
Absolutely.
And the most overwhelming paths to get you to your goal are the ones that teach you the best. And you come out a whole better person than just this little tiny, this is right here in front of me, let me just go after this one.
Right.
So I like the change in the process.
Yeah. I think super successful people do exactly what we were just talking about. Like they know where they're going, they're clear on what the purpose is, and then they get rid of all of the distractions that aren't aligned with that goal. So speaking of being stuck, has there ever been a time where you just felt stuck in life, and how did you get out of that?
Yes, I think I get stuck every year. And I say that because you change every year. Yes. And sometimes it's not intentional changes, it's changes that have to happen. Right. Like you don't realize that you're in a moment that you have to change until you get slapped with the wall. And you're like, well, this is not going the way that I wanted to go. I feel like I've just done this, and I keep continuing to do this, and you're sat in this one position. You're not going forward. You're not going backwards. You're just there. You're present.
Exist.
Yes. And I think for me, what I do to get out of that is I have to have a moment of crazy. And by a moment of crazy, like I have to just like have conversation with myself, like yell at myself and go do something completely wild.
Okay.
Whether it
I
be...
need you to elaborate a little bit, because this feels like you go off into the woods and like kill birds. Like, what do you mean?
No, what I need to do is I need to, for example, some people, they drain their bank accounts, and then they're absolutely no money in there, so then they have no choice but to get unstuck. They have no choice but to have motivation.
Is that
and
what you do?
No.
Okay.
Maybe just a little bit sometimes.
Okay.
I have done that. I have done that. I'll go spend a ungodly amount of money on a weekend. Yeah. Just to make myself feel good. And it'd be something completely different than the last time. Yeah. Or I'll go drop whatever on doing a remodel for my home. Yeah. Because with that money being gone, I make it seem like I'm broke, and I have no choice. Like, how do I get that back? And how do I get that back tomorrow? Yeah. I don't want it back in 2 weeks or 2 months or anything. I need it back immediately. Yeah. And when I don't do those things, I slowly drain myself. Yeah. Until I have no choice. But when I have that mindset or that mind fuck to this, if I spend this, I'm broke. Then it's like a switch in my mind that's like, okay, well, you have to go harder because you're broke. So you told yourself you're broke. Yes. Okay. Like, I don't just Monday through Friday go to work, go home, go to work, go home. On the weekend, I will go wild. To me, that's wild because it's not what I'm doing on the regular. Staying at home on the weekends or anything like that. Or maybe I will just go. I mean, I think August, as a matter of fact, I just did this, and I went and bought a a Jeep. It is a vehicle that I've wanted my whole life. And I was stuck for a little bit and didn't know where to go after that. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, you know what? This is what it is. I've already got the house. I've already got everything else. Let's get a toy.
Yeah.
Bought the toy. Hurricane came. And I trolled that thing all the way to Maryland.
As you should.
Because why not?
Why not? Interrupt your pattern.
It interrupted my pattern. And the minute that we got back to normal life in Georgia, I went hard. Yeah. Until last month.
Right. Okay, so for somebody like you, for everybody who's watching us, Paula is our top salesperson here at AAT. Mm-hmm. She is definitely above average when it comes to finances. So for somebody who is not in that position, okay, maybe they can't afford to drain a bank account or
get a bill, like Chrissy says.
Okay, that was gonna be what I said. Like, how do we do that? That's always my advice.
Yes.
Okay, when you are in a situation where you feel stuck, get a bill. And what I mean by that is not necessarily like, go, max out your credit cards. That's not what I mean. I mean, do something that's going to cause you to have to react. Mm-hmm. This is not going to work if you are somebody who is just okay with existing always. Mm-mm. So, again, how to be a boss. We're being bosses here. So we're trying to go further. If you get a bill, you'll figure out how to afford it. Like if I go buy a car.
Because you ain't going to want to take that thing away.
Right.
Once I get it, it's here. It's not going
back.
Nobody's
taking it. Yeah, I'm going to figure it out. If I go buy an investment property, nobody's taking it. We're going to figure out how to make it work. So I think that if that's your mindset, then go into make a purchase that causes you to have to make just a little bit more than you're already doing. Yeah. You'll figure out how to get to that next level. And once you do that a couple times, it's so easy for you to figure out how to make more income.
For sure.
Overall.
And it comes and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's a little baby next level for anybody that just needs something minute to get them going.
Absolutely.
Because there's been many a times, get a bill. Funny story, I just had a memory the other day that I was telling a friend of mine that my boss, anytime that I feel stuck, says, go get a bill. So you need to go get a bill.
Get a bill.
So
get a bill.
That was a good thing for me to see. I felt like it was this month. I feel like it popped up the right time.
Yeah. And I think the caveat there is you can't, for you guys on the sales team, y'all work on commission. So it's so easy when y'all are having money problems for me to be like, go make some more money, friend. Yeah. Give yourself a raise, But, for somebody who works on a salary and they don't necessarily have that option day in and day out.
Side hustles.
Side hustle. Get a different job. That drives me crazy, Paula, when somebody is in a situation where they're stuck on a salary, there's no moving forward, and they sit there and wallow in it instead of doing something about it. Yeah. Why are you still there? Mm-hmm. If I complain about something more than once, we need to do something about it.
I agree.
What's a situation you can think of? Maybe I've even told you that. Maybe that's an example, but a situation where you have caught yourself bitching about something that you knew you needed to change, and then how do you get your head right to change it?
I need a dog fence at my house.
Okay.
And I kept bitching because my spouse would not go find a fencer. Mm-hmm. And I kept complaining about it. And I'm like, you know what? Why am I asking him to do something that I can just do and just shut myself up? Yeah. So I'm getting a fence at my home. And I'm no longer complaining about it because now I know how much it's going to cost. Now I know where it's going to be at. And I won't be, and it's not even just complaining about the fence. It's complaining about other things that go along with what would be eliminated had I had the fence. Right. And so that relieves a lot of stress too. You don't realize that one complaint about one specific thing isn't just about that. You see other things that you complain about that factor into, oh, well, I need a new car. Yeah. the AC's running out of my car. It's summertime in South Georgia and it's hot and I'm tired of riding with the windows down. It's sweating when I go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Just go get a car.
Just go get
and
a
then
car.
You're not sweating no more. You don't have to roll the windows down.
I think a good example that everybody can relate to at some point in their life is the car. But like, it applies to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of the situation that you feel stuck in, figure out how it's affecting you and what you can trade out to make something happen. Because you can complain about like why you're not doing it all day long, but at the end of the day, like you have that same opportunity everybody else
and
does.
Chances are you have the money, because if you look at your bank statements for the last 90 days, and in the past, I've been here my whole life.
Yes.
There has been plenty of times where I've had to do that if I wanted something different. And I'm like, okay, well, this month I spent $400 at Starbucks on a coffee, or I spent this amount of money on clothes that I really don't need, because why am I trying to keep up with other people?
Mm-hmm.
If there's no point in that.
Yep.
If the clothes still fit and it's still in season, let's keep wearing them.
Yep.
But once you cut those out, you realize, add it all up, you've got enough for a down payment, the insurance transfer, and the first month right there.
Absolutely.
And I think people are scared to look at their accounts.
No, people are scared to admit where they're messing up. That's what it is. It's like, especially somebody who is like, you know, limited with income.
Yeah.
All right. And this is something I've seen lots of people do before. They're like, oh, I can't afford to do this or that. But they are, you know, smoking, drinking, partying. They don't want to get rid of those things, because
they go into fast food instead of cooking them kids food at home.
Yeah, it's the eating out. It's all the other things that you could get rid of that you don't want to say, okay, I got to get rid of that. You know what I mean? And that stuff adds up.
Yeah, it does.
It does. So I think that you have to be really self-aware on what you're doing at the moment in order to be able to make a change. Because if you're not, you're just going to keep
wallowing in the misery.
Yeah, you're just going to keep existing. Keep existing. Now, obviously, the best outcome here is if you don't. I mean, that's legit. If you don't want to give up certain things in your life, because you can only budget so much.
Yeah.
You can only dwindle down. You can only save so much. You can only like get rid of stuff to an extent. You can always make more money.
Always.
Yeah, but we would love for you to come work at AAT. So apply. Our sales team is very